The door to my house was slightly ajar when I returned. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at it, a strange feeling settling in my chest. My hands still smelled like lilies, the same flowers I had placed beside my mother just hours ago at her funeral. The scent clung to me, soft but haunting, like a reminder I couldn't wash away. My name is Nathan Cole, 38 years old. I've been married for 7 years. No kids, my wife always said it wasn't the right time. I believed her. I believed a lot of things. My mother passed quietly in her sleep. Peaceful, they told me. But before she closed her eyes for the last time, she whispered something that refused to leave my mind. Check the second drawer. After the service, I went straight to my study. Alone. I remember how quiet the house felt, too quiet. My hands trembled slightly as I pulled open the second drawer of my desk. Inside, everything changed. There were documents neatly stacked, tied together, as if she had prepared this moment long before I was ready for it. I unfolded them slowly, my breath catching with every page. 2 farmland properties in North Carolina. A hidden will. And then, the one that made my heart skip. A fully paid mansion in Palm Beach. All of it, left to me. Only me. I sat there for a long time, staring at the papers, trying to process what it all meant. My mother had never talked about this. Not once. And yet, she had left me something far bigger than money or land. She had left me a choice. I grabbed the documents and drove home, my mind racing. Maybe this could change things. Maybe now my wife and her family would finally see me differently. Respect me. Maybe we could actually feel like a real family for once. But as I reached for the doorknob, something stopped me. Laughter. I froze. It was her voice. My wife. And her sisters. Even her father. I didn't move. I just listened. He's so gullible, my wife said, her tone light, almost amused. My chest tightened. Now that his mom's gone, she continued, he's got no one left. A sharp laugh followed. Her sister chimed in, wait, did he actually believe you when you said you'd stay with him no matter what? More laughter. Louder this time. Something inside me cracked. I slowly stepped back from the door, my hand dropping to my side. I felt like a stranger standing outside my own home. Then her father's voice cut through the noise. Once he signs the refinance papers, we are done babysitting his broke ass. Glasses clinked. They were celebrating. My fingers tightened around the documents in my hand, the will, the deeds, the truth they didn't know existed. Not yet. And suddenly, I realized something with complete clarity. They didn't deserve to know. Not now. Not ever. I took one last look at the door, then turned around and walked away. I didn't remember most of the drive. My hands were on the wheel, my eyes on the road, but my mind replayed their laughter over and over again. Every word, every tone, every hidden truth I had refused to see for years, it all came crashing down at once. Before I realized it, I had pulled into an old diner off Route 9. The same place my mother used to take me when life felt too heavy to carry alone. Somehow, I had ended up exactly where I needed to be. I stepped inside. The soft hum of conversation, the clinking of dishes, and the smell of coffee wrapped around me like a distant memory. I slid into a corner booth, the one we used to sit in, and placed the documents on the table in front of me. For a long moment, I just stared at them. Then my eyes landed on her signature. My mother knew. She knew everything. She knew what kind of people I was living with. She knew how they treated me behind closed doors. And instead of confronting them, she had done something far more powerful. She had trusted me to see the truth for myself. To act when the time came. That realization settled deep in my chest, replacing the pain with something colder, sharper. Clarity. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to a small motel on the edge of town and checked in under a different name, Ethan Blake. I didn't want to be found. Not yet. Inside the room, I locked the door, set the documents on the desk, and sat down slowly. The silence felt different now. Not empty, but controlled. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting. I was thinking. After a few minutes, I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found a name I hadn't called in a long time. Marcus Reed. We went to college together. He was one of the few people I trusted back then, and one of the smartest property lawyers I knew. The phone rang twice before he answered. Nathan, he said, surprised. It's been a while. Yeah, I replied quietly. It has. There was a brief pause before he asked, everything okay? I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Are you still practicing property law? Another pause. Longer this time. Yeah. I am, he said carefully. Why? I exhaled slowly. Because I need your help. His tone shifted instantly. What kind of help? I looked over at the documents spread across the desk, the farms, the mansion, the will. My mother left me something, I said. Something big. And, he asked. And I think people are going to try to take it from me. Silence. Then Marcus spoke, his voice firm now. All right. Start from the beginning. I closed my eyes for a second. I'm ready to disappear, I said. Quietly. At 6 a.m., I was still awake. A cup of coffee sat in front of me, steam curling into the air. The documents were spread neatly across the desk, every page now familiar. 2 farms. A coastal mansion. And a will, with something I hadn't noticed before. A handwritten line. I leaned closer, reading it again. Do not let them take what they never valued. My mother's handwriting. Not just a message. A warning. I read that line over and over again. Do not let them take what they never valued. It didn't feel like advice. It felt like instruction. My grip tightened on the paper, as everything started to make sense. My mother hadn't just left me assets, she had left me a plan. A way out. A way to take back control without ever stepping into their game. My phone buzzed suddenly, breaking the silence. I glanced at the screen. 17 missed calls. All from my wife. A voicemail followed. I hesitated for a moment, then played it. Nathan, where are you? Her voice came through, shaky but controlled. You just disappeared. We need to talk. Dad says we can fix this if you just stop being dramatic. Dramatic. I let out a quiet breath and ended the message. Not once did she ask if I was okay. Not once did she sound worried. It wasn't concern, it was control slipping away. And they could feel it. I placed the phone face down and reached for my laptop instead. If they wanted to play this game. I was done playing blind. I opened my email and typed slowly, carefully. To the family accountant, a man who had always respected my mother and never quite trusted my wife's family. Subject: immediate action required, effective immediately, freeze all shared assets pending legal review. I paused for a second, then added my name. Nathan Cole. I attached everything. The will. The land records. And a confidential letter from Marcus Reed, officially retaining him as my attorney. I hit send. For a moment, nothing happened. Then I leaned back in my chair and waited. By 8 a.m., my phone lit up again. Not calls this time. Messages. The family group chat. My wife, what is this? Her sister, Nathan, seriously. We had a deal. Her father, you think you can pull something like this quietly? I stared at the screen. The same people who laughed at me just hours ago, now suddenly demanding answers. I didn't reply. They didn't deserve one. Instead, I closed the chat, picked up my keys, and made another decision. If everything my mother left me was real, then I needed to see it with my own eyes. Before they could get anywhere near it. Within an hour, I had rented a car and started driving south. Palm Beach. The entire drive felt different this time. Not heavy, not confused. Focused. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to their moves. I was making my own. By late afternoon, I reached the property. The gate stood tall but worn, rust creeping along the edges as if time itself had tried to erase the place. But it hadn't. Inside, the mansion stood untouched. Silent. Waiting. I stepped out of the car slowly, my eyes taking in the view, white columns wrapped in ivy, palm trees swaying gently in the breeze like quiet guards protecting something forgotten. For a moment, I just stood there. This was mine. Not theirs. Never theirs. I pushed the gate open and walked inside. The air smelled faintly of citrus and age, like a memory frozen in time. Every step echoed softly through the halls. Then I heard a voice behind me. You must be her son. I turned. An older man stood near the entrance, calm, observant. I'm Rafael Ortiz, he said. I've been looking after this place for a long time. I nodded slowly. I'm Nathan. He gave a small smile. She always said you'd come one day. I didn't respond right away. Because in that moment, I realized something. My mother hadn't just prepared for her death. She had prepared for this exact moment. I followed Rafael Ortiz through the mansion in silence, my footsteps echoing against the marble floors. Every corner of the place felt untouched, preserved like a memory my mother had hidden away from the world, and from me. She used to come here often, Rafael said as we walked. Years ago. Before everything changed. Changed how? I asked quietly. He glanced at me but didn't answer directly. You'll understand. We stepped into a sunroom filled with faded light. Dust particles floated in the air, glowing softly as sunlight pushed through tall windows. In the corner stood a piano, its surface covered in a thin layer of dust. She played here, Rafael said, nodding toward it. Every evening. I walked closer, brushing my fingers lightly across the keys. A soft, broken note echoed through the room. For a second, I could almost hear her. I swallowed hard and stepped back. We continued through the house until we reached a study. It felt different from the rest of the mansion, more personal. More intentional. This room, Rafael said, she kept locked. My eyes scanned the space. Bookshelves lined the walls, a large desk sat near the window, and behind it, a painting slightly off-center. Something about it felt wrong. I walked toward it slowly. Without saying a word, I reached out and moved the painting aside. Behind it, just as I suspected, was a safe. My pulse quickened. Raphael didn't seem surprised. She told me you'd find it, he said calmly. How? I asked. He smiled faintly. She knew you'd start looking when the time was right. I knelt down and examined the safe. It wasn't digital, just an old mechanical lock. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I remembered her words. Check the second drawer. Simple. Direct. She never made things complicated. I turned the dial slowly, trying the only combination that made sense, her birthday. Click. The lock opened. I exhaled quietly and pulled the door open. Inside were more documents. Property titles. Old photographs. And at the very top, a sealed envelope. My name written across it. Nathan. My hands trembled slightly as I picked it up. For a moment, I just stared at it. Then I opened it. Inside was a letter. I unfolded it carefully and began to read. This is yours, her handwriting said. Not just by blood, but by integrity. I felt my chest tighten. If they try to take it, let them. I paused, confused. Then I read the next line. You don't need to fight. My eyes moved faster now. You only need to reveal. I leaned back slowly, the letter still in my hands. Reveal. That word again. Not confrontation. Not revenge. Truth. I looked around the room, my mind racing as everything started to connect. She hadn't just left me assets. She had left me evidence. A way to expose everything without ever stepping into their chaos. They don't know what they've already done, I murmured. Raphael folded his arms, watching me carefully. No, he said. But they will. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the documents, the photos, the letter. Then I finally understood. This wasn't about protecting what was mine. It was about letting them destroy themselves with what they had already done. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the envelope. For the first time since the funeral, I felt calm. Not angry. Not hurt. Focused. I'm staying here tonight, I said. Raphael nodded. I'll prepare a room. As he walked away, I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. No noise. No lies. Just silence. The kind that lets your mind reset. And by morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I woke up before sunrise. For a moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then the silence settled in, the kind that doesn't feel empty, but controlled. No voices. No tension. No pretending. Just peace. I sat up slowly, running a hand over my face, then looked toward the desk where I had left everything the night before. The documents. The letter. The truth. Today wasn't about reacting anymore. It was about execution. By 8:30 a.m., I had everything ready. I scanned every document carefully, the will, the property deeds, the handwritten note from my mother, and most importantly, the letter she had written detailing everything she had witnessed in her final months. The manipulation. The pressure. The quiet ways my wife's family had tried to position themselves for control. I didn't rush. Every file had to be clear. Precise. Undeniable. At exactly 9:01 a.m., I uploaded a single folder to a secure cloud account. I stared at it for a moment. This was it. Not revenge. Revelation. I opened my contacts and selected one name. My wife's corporate compliance officer. Someone bound by rules. By law. By consequence. I attached the folder and typed a short message. Please review the attached documents regarding potential fiduciary misrepresentation and conflict of interest tied to the estate of my late mother. I didn't add emotion. Just facts. Then I hit send. For a few minutes, nothing happened. I walked out onto the balcony, the Florida breeze moving gently through the palm trees below. The world looked normal. But I knew it wouldn't stay that way. My phone buzzed. I looked down. A reply. Fast. Mr. Cole, we've received your documents. We would like to schedule a formal discussion immediately. I smiled slightly. It had started. At 10 a.m., my phone rang. Her father. I let it ring. A few seconds later, her sister. Ignored. Then again. And again. Calls stacked one after another. Pressure. Urgency. Fear. All the things they had made me feel, now turning back on them. I placed the phone face down on the table and walked back inside. For once, I was in control of the silence. A message notification lit up the screen. My wife. I stared at it for a moment before opening it. You need to stop this. You're being cruel. I read it twice. Cruel. The word sat there, almost laughable. They lied to me. They mocked me. They celebrated while I was grieving my mother. But now, consequences had arrived. And suddenly I was the problem. I picked up the phone slowly and typed a single word. No explanation. No emotion. Just truth. Reveal. I hit send and set the phone down. Outside, the wind picked up slightly, rustling the trees. Inside, everything felt still. But I knew what was coming next. The fallout. And it would be faster than they expected. Because once truth is exposed, it doesn't ask for permission. It spreads. By noon, the consequences began to take shape. My wife's father, long regarded as untouchable on the corporate board, suddenly found himself under scrutiny. The documents I had sent revealed more than just assets. They revealed influence misused, decisions manipulated, and a family's quiet scheme to control everything I'd inherited. I watched from the mansion balcony as a team of surveyors walked the property below, taking measurements for what would soon become a therapy retreat for grieving families. My mother's vision was taking shape, and I was finally in a position to honor it. My phone buzzed again. Another call from my wife. Another ignored ring. She didn't understand. The game had changed. I wasn't reacting, I was executing. Then came the knock at the front door. I knew who it would be. Sure enough, she stood there, sunglasses on, designer coat neatly buttoned, the same performance of panic she always reserved for moments when she felt cornered. Her presence alone was exhausting, but I remained calm. Nathan, she began, voice sharp but controlled. We were angry. We were stupid. But this can be fixed. You've made your point. I didn't respond immediately. I studied her face, every line, every expression. This was the same woman I had thought I'd grow old with. The one I had believed in. But now, she was just a symbol of everything I had learned to see clearly, deception. I reached for the folder in my hands and slid it toward her. To the mansion, she asked, confusion clear in her voice. No, I said quietly, eyes steady. To the farms. You may visit, but only with permission. They are being converted into a grief therapy foundation for those who understand true loss. For a moment, she said nothing, just stared at the folder like it was written in another language. Slowly, her confidence began to crack, not loud, but subtle, the kind of break that comes when control slips through fingers. You're being cold, she whispered. This isn't you. No, I said, calm and measured. This is me when I stop pretending. Her gaze shifted past me, scanning the mansion, as though searching for a hold she no longer had. There was nothing left, no photographs, no land, and certainly not me. I made one mistake, she said finally, her voice low. I raised an eyebrow. You made a pattern, I corrected. We let the silence stretch between us. Then I stepped aside and revealed a framed photograph on the table behind me. My mother, smiling at a younger version of me, hands muddy from planting, sunlight streaking across the frame. She left this place because she knew what people like you would do, I said softly. But she trusted I'd know when to reclaim it. She looked at the photo, then back at me, saying nothing. I didn't need a response. Her silence said enough. This wasn't about revenge. It was reclamation. I stepped forward, ready to walk away. She tried one last attempt to reach me, an email later that day, carefully composed, polite, almost reasonable. We were both wrong. Maybe there's a way forward. I read it twice, not because I was tempted, but because it showed exactly what I had learned. She had no idea what we'd meant in the face of betrayal. Only silence, calculation, and survival. I didn't reply. Instead, I turned toward the edge of the property. The Florida breeze stirred the palms, carrying a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. This land, these buildings, the life my mother had left me, it was mine now, and I intended to honor it exactly as she had planned. The rain had slowed to a steady drizzle, but the street still shimmered like wet glass under the dim street lights. I pulled my coat tighter around me, each step heavier than the last, as if the puddles themselves were trying to hold me back. My mind raced through every choice I had made in the last 24 hours, every lie, every slip, every secret buried in plain sight. And yet, none of it felt like enough. Not yet. When I finally reached the edge of the park, I saw her, standing beneath the skeletal branches of an old oak tree, her face obscured by the hood of her raincoat. I froze. Part of me wanted to turn around, disappear into the fog, and forget I'd ever seen her. But another part, louder and more insistent, told me I couldn't. Not this time. Why are you here? I asked, my voice barely above the whisper of the wind. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped closer, her boots splashing in the shallow water along the path. You think you can outrun this, she finally said, her tone sharp but tinged with sadness. It's been following you all along. I swallowed hard. Everything inside me screamed to deny it, to tell her that none of this was real. But the truth has a way of slipping out, no matter how tightly you try to hold it. I didn't ask for any of this, I said, the words tasting like ash. I never wanted to hurt anyone. Her eyes softened for a moment. I know, she said. But wanting something doesn't change what's already happened. A gust of wind sent a shiver down my spine, and I realized how exposed I was, physically and emotionally. The city felt distant here, almost unreal. Only her presence anchored me to this moment, to the weight of what I had done, and what I still had to face. I can fix it, I whispered. The words were fragile, almost pathetic. But I needed her to believe me. Needed myself to believe me. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Maybe you can, she said. But you have to choose. This isn't about hiding or running anymore. It's about stepping into the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Her words hit me harder than any slap, and I felt the walls I had built around myself begin to crumble. I thought of everyone I had kept in the dark, everyone I had deceived to protect myself. And for the first time, I realized that protection had only ever been an illusion. Then I choose, I said, my voice gaining strength with each word. I choose to face it. To face everything. A faint smile touched her lips, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a flicker of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, dangerous, and full of shadows, but at least now, I wasn't walking it alone. And as the rain fell heavy again, soaking us both, I took the first step forward, ready to confront the consequences of my choices. The past could no longer define me, the future was waiting, and I was finally ready to meet it.